I bet you didn't expect a part 2 or follow-up review on this controller for a few years. You probably expected me to stumble in here with high blood pressure and a full gray beard with my arthritis-caked fingers wrapped around these palm grips, but nope, the next day after my initial review. Why? Because the ripe comment section of my initial review has pointed out a couple of new pieces of information, things that I forgot during the initial review, so this is going to be a plug-in, an add-on, that expansion pack, little DLC for yesterday's comprehensive review, which is linked in the description below. If you haven't caught it, I strongly recommend clicking off this video and checking out that video first, as it is the 101 and it's going to fill in all the gaps about what we're talking about here today. Also, it's a much longer video broken into chapters or timestamps as we review every piece or component of this controller. But in this video, I have some supplementary information. Also, I want to talk about what's up next for this gamepad because it's going to be showing its pretty face on this channel a lot more. Let's get it.
This is your controller captain. We've reached 6,900 feet. Go ahead and start flicking the sticks and mollywopping the back paddles.
You don't like back paddles? How about those rear buttons? We've tested almost 100 custom and premium controllers, and we're only at the beginning. You need a thumbstick guide or a tutorial on how to overclock your controller? Check out the controller playlist.
Bing bong.
Controller captain out.
So the first topic I want to cover is pairing this controller to the console or PC using Xbox Wireless, as that is an option available on that little screen. However, it doesn't work as of current. Xbox Wireless is a dedicated frequency that Microsoft has yet to disclose. It's their own proprietary wireless connection that shouldn't get interference with other electronics in your room, so Bluetooth and other dongles. And this controller is equipped with Xbox Wireless. Makes sense because it's a licensed Xbox product. Coordination between Microsoft and Turtle Beach. They probably had to kick them a little VIG to get that stamp on the box. But this supports Xbox Wireless, but as of current, you cannot connect to the Xbox Series consoles or the PC if using that Windows Xbox adapter. It just does not connect. So if you want to connect wirelessly, you are going to be using that dongle, at least for the foreseeable future until a patch or update fixes that. Also, I forgot to mention this during my initial review. Well, actually, I didn't even notice it until somebody mentioned it in the comment section, but there's actually a slot for your transmitter or dongle, which is awesome because if you're on the PC side of the house, you can set this bad boy out on your desk, and it does have rubberized feet, so it won't be sliding around, but the cool thing is you can just charge your controller off your desk and only use one USB port on your PC to get connectivity and power to this dock, so you're not using two USB ports for one controller. That's if you're going wired. If you're going wireless, then you only need this plugged in through the USB-C and then your dongle plugged in right there, and you'll get connectivity to your PC. The next thing I saw floating around the comment section was a lot of questions. If you have one of the Turtle Beach headsets like the 600 Stealth series, can you connect those seamlessly to the controller? And the answer is no. While you do have Bluetooth, and that does allow you to pair certain accessories such as headsets, I believe what people were referring to was Turtle Beach specific headsets having some kind of a seamless direct connection with the Turtle Beach controller, which would make sense considering they're using the same chipset and communication and all that stuff. There is no support for Turtle Beach headsets. Keep in mind when you are using that 3.5mm headphone jack, or you do get a supported wireless headset connected, that will unlock the audio controls on the screen, which are usually grayed out over here on the left side. Also, something else that needs mention as it applies to binding the rear buttons is the fact that you cannot bind clicking down the left or right stick, so L3 and R3 as it's called on PlayStation controllers, or I guess it doesn't have a fancy name on Xbox, left stick click and right stick click. You cannot bind those to the rear buttons, and that's something I didn't mention during my initial review. One, because I didn't notice it, but two, that's something that I personally would never bind my rear buttons to. I have a video from about 2 years ago going over button bindings and what I advise people bind their rear buttons and back paddles to, and there's only two reasons I can see where you would logically want to bind the analog sticks to your rear buttons. One is the theory that clicking down the sticks can speed up the potential problem of stick drift, but there's not enough scientific evidence that that's even the case. And if you're using Hall Effect thumbstick modules, which are already virtually stick drift proof, clicking down the stick should have even less of an effect. The second one would be if you're playing competitive multiplayer and when you get into a combat situation, a gunfight, you accidentally click down on the right stick when you're aiming, thus meleeing and causing you to lose gunfights. That actually makes a little bit of sense to me, but I personally would never give up one of my 4 rear button bindings to clicking down the sticks, considering your thumbs are already covering them and it's quite easy to just click them down. As with the D-pad and face buttons, you do need to take your fingers off the thumbsticks to hit them, so that would make sense to me to bind them to the rear buttons. But that wasn't mentioned in my initial review, and I saw multiple comments saying, if it can't bind to L3 and R3, this is a no-buy for me. So I guess a lot of people are very passionate about that feature, and no, you cannot bind the left or right analog sticks, but along those lines, a lot. I would say about 70% of the controllers I've reviewed do not allow the sticks to be bound. Also, something that should have been mentioned in the cons is the fact that this is missing gyroscope motion aiming, which is a big deal for PC players. However, since this is a dedicated dedicated Xbox controller. Yeah, you can use it on PC, but it's labeled as a licensed Xbox controller. I didn't assume that it would have gyro, considering that's not a standard feature of any Xbox controller. Sony, yeah, they got the shit wrapped up with the PS4 and 5 controller. They've had killer 6-axis motion sensing. One of the many reasons that competitive PC controller players tend to lean towards Sony controllers versus Microsoft controllers. I do have an in-depth comparison. What's better, Sony controllers or Microsoft controllers? Xbox versus PlayStation. And yeah, we're talking about the stalkers, so the ones that came with your console. If you haven't caught that video, it is linked in the description below. It's a humdinger. But yes, that is worth a mention, and I didn't mention it during the cons section because it's not really a feature that I use hardly at all, is the gyroscope motion aiming. I use it on my Steam Deck and handheld PCs like the Legion Go and Ally all the time, but with a controller, I know how to use it. I'm decent with it, and it's good for clicking on faces, but I'm just so much more comfortable using the thumbsticks. Also, if you're into competitive tournaments or anything like that, esports if you will, no tournament or competition I've ever heard of will allow you to use gyro motion aiming. You're going to be just on the thumbsticks like everybody else. But yes, it does not have gyro, which other pro controllers like the $90 Vader 3 Pro from FlyDigi does have, and that's another controller I've heard in the comments section compared to this heavily. Two different beasts here. We're talking about a $90 mid-upper end pro controller from China, from China's #1 controller company, and then Turtle Beach over here with this $200 flagship, which does feel different. It has a different feature set. It's a completely different controller. I wouldn't even compare those two in a video like I'm going to do with the Elite 2, just because it's like apples to oranges. They're not even similar. It's like comparing a boosted Civic, okay, a Civic with a nice fat turbo and intercooler, so it's fast, but it's still a Civic, right, to a Ferrari. You're going to get a lot more ass in that bad boy from whatever gender you're trying to attract. It's going to sound crisp, and it's still going to be fast, a little bit faster than that boosted Civic most likely. So hopefully that car analogy made sense. You can't compare a FlyDigi Vader 3 to this thing. They're both killer controllers. I own them both, love them both, use them weekly, if not daily, but they're different, man. If you commented on that initial review, there is a strong chance, like a 99% chance, that I got back to you, unless you just called me ugly and hurt my feelings, in which case I probably just deleted your comment. But in all seriousness, I responded to virtually every single comment that I saw on that video, which was a lot. But if you do comment on this video, I will get back to you. So if you have a question, comment, concern about any of these gamepads, yeah, down there.
As for thumbstick caps, I saw a lot of comments saying that KontrolFreeks do not work. I said in passing in the initial review that the Xbox ones do work, and they do work pretty good. They are a little bit loose and wiggly, where if you pinch them and twist, they will rotate. However, that doesn't happen in gameplay when you're just using the controller normally. But if you are going to get licensed KontrolFreeks, not the universal slipovers, but the ones with the little plastic dishes, make sure you pop for the Xbox versions, not PlayStation or Switch, as these are a smaller diameter and will be more firmly secured. Now, these are the Scuf universals installed. There's two different sizes of plastic dishes in there, and they both work. I will say the one on the left analog stick is a little bit more secure and doesn't rotate as freely, but somebody asked about this, so I popped them on for you. These are the Scuf universals. They do work, and they do feel phenomenal. In fact, I might actually leave these on there. But if you tried the Xbox KFs and the Scuf universals, and you just didn't like that they can rotate, they didn't feel secure enough for you, you can get some universal slipovers, which I know there's a couple included in the box, but a better pair, for example, from Playvital or ExtremeRate, that will indeed give you more height and more grip. Some good options are linked in the description below.
I saw a few questions from specific PC players looking for ReWAS support. Unfortunately, that application does not have support, as this controller just came out / isn't out to the public yet, but ReWAS will catch up usually with patches or updates. They'll add support for other controllers, but if you're trying to bind keyboard specific things, Q or Alt, spacebar to the back buttons, there is no support for that. But if you're looking for a good PC only controller, check out the Scuf Envision, which I reviewed recently. As for what's next with this controller, I saw a ton of comments comparing this to an Elite Series 2, which makes sense. It's another pro Xbox controller, it's in a similar price point, and it is the most popular first-party pro controller that I've ever seen. The DualSense Edge will catch up to it in a few years, but being as it is a first-party controller and the first Elite dropped in 2015, the Series 2 in 2019, it's been leaked that next year we're getting an Elite 3, and Microsoft's been pretty aggressive about their pro controller line. They've been making refreshments, revisions to increase the QC, although thus far with teardowns or disassemblies, we haven't seen any actual physical proof on the internals or guts. But those two controllers will be compared part by part, component by component, to find out who is the best gamepad for Xbox and PC. I'm sure you've already got your winner picked out in your mind. I don't. I'm going to go into it with an empty noggin, look at it objectively, part by part, component by component. I'm really going to take emotion out of it because there is no emotion there. I love the Elite 2, and thus far I love this controller too. I think they're both some of the best flagship gamepads on Xbox, and there are parts that I like more for each one. So make sure you subscribe so you catch that comparison in the near future, and also my long-term ownership review of this bad boy a few months or maybe even a year down the road once I've had more stick time with it. Drop in the comment section below what you think of this gamepad, and I'll see you Stallions and Stallionettes tomorrow. Peace.
If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well, which in turn helps me grow this little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, as well as honest gaming product reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, mics, chairs, etc. There are some hefty exclusive discount codes found only in the description of my videos and only for the audience here at GamerHeaven. I have links to all my other platforms and socials in the description below. To get in touch with myself and the Stallions and Stallionettes of GamerHeaven, join the community Discord, and check me out at twitch.tv where I go live every other leap year on a blue moon if it falls into an odd calendar number, and my pH balance is on point. Just kidding, starting June I'm going to be live streaming a lot. Thanks for watching. This has been AK40 Kevin hosting GamerHeaven, and I'll see you tomorrow because I upload daily, all the time, 60% of the time, sometimes, most of the time. Peace.